we're aiming to buy them because they're made of wood, and maintenance expenses would start escalating a bit quicker when they hit 30, 40 years of age. So we normally aim for like 20 years and younger on purchase.
Okay.
So that would
So,
start at around 40 million yen.
and you wouldn't get any reinforced concrete within that size range, like,
I would if your budget allows, but they'll be in the millions.
yeah. Okay, yes, within the 20 years and less for
And
the
for concrete, we'd go for 30 years or less because we got a bit more leeway until it starts deteriorating. But still, they're bigger. They're going to be more floors. They're probably going to have an elevator. They probably will have, let's say, at least 20 units, and they would cost. The cheapest one we saw to date was about a million or 900,000 Australian, and that was pretty old. I'd go for younger than that. So
okay.
maybe think like million and a half, 2 million Australian ish. Folks, and welcome back to Nippon Trading International's Japan Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Ziv Nakajima again, and this podcast is brought to you, among others, by Emil Gorgies of realestate.jp. He's a Tokyo real estate agent who specializes in serving international or mixed nationality families who are looking for the perfect family home. So Emil's an Australian. He's been living here in Japan for over 2 decades now, and for about half of that time he's been buying, selling, and managing real estate properties in Tokyo on behalf of his own family and a great many happy clients. And he also acts as a mortgage broker on behalf of his clients. So he's got dedicated loan officers in many of the Japanese mega banks. And if you're a regular listener of the podcast, you probably already know him from our JREP, the Japan Real Estate Experts Panel sessions, which means that you're already aware of the fact that the man is an absolute fountain of wisdom on all things related to real estate in Japan, and in particular to family homes, the greater Tokyo metropolitan area, and mortgages. And most importantly, he's incredibly generous with his time and advice, which he's more than happy to provide at no cost or commitment to anyone asking. So if you've been thinking about buying your home in Tokyo, but you've been sitting on the fence for a while, or you just want to have a chat in English with a real expert, drop him a line on sales@realestate.jp. Hit him up today and start exploring your options. All right, so right before we get into today's episode, quick and exciting update for you about the up-and-coming Japan Real Estate Summit, scheduled for the 4th and 5th of October in Tokyo or online via the stream. Daigo Sato-san, one of our favorite accountants, who was an absolute crowd favorite in both our April 2025 and our October 2024 summits, is also going to be back with us this year. If you've watched and listened to any of his previous presentations, and we'll link to those in this episode's show notes, then you know how valuable the information, tips, and tricks that he shares are. Very excited to have him back with us. And again, all of our sponsors and speakers, Innovatious.com, Shiki Properties, Axolotl Capital, Japan Remotely, Hokkaido Hobby Homes, and now Daigo Sato Accounting, are equally stoked to see you all with us, live or in the streaming room. Pre-registration, again, is now open for anyone who already knows that they'll be there. So go over there, register for your discounted early bird tickets. We'll link to the registration form in this episode's show notes as well, but you can also find it at the top of our website, nippontradings.com. That's NIPPON Tradings with an S, all one word, nippontradings.com. Looking forward to seeing you with us on that weekend. All right, so for today's episode, which is actually 2 conversations back to back, I know you love that format, both of them centered around the topic of purchasing properties in Japan and potentially leveraging them for a business manager visa and residency. Before we get into them, though, you should all probably be aware that there's a new legislation coming in, probably towards the end of this year, 2025, which is going to raise the minimum requirements for a business manager visa from 5 million Japanese yen in capital to 30. Yes, that's right, 30 million yen, about 200,000 US dollars. That's definitely going to cause some friction in some of you folks' relocation plans, which can't be helped, unfortunately. But the reason I'm saying this is that in these conversations, you'll be hearing me referring to the 5 million Japanese yen capital required. Bear in mind, again, that this is not likely to remain the case for very long. The minimum capital requirement is going to be increased to 30 million Japanese yen instead. Okay, so for the first conversation, this one's with a guy who's a regular listener of the podcast, and he's got a very fair question, since he's been hearing many of our listeners come on the podcast and discuss their plans to move to Japan. His first question is, how feasible are these plans that they have? How many of them actually do it in the end? And what makes the difference between the dreamers and doers in this regard? We also talk about the various types of rentals that can be had in Japan, long-term, medium, or monthly, and short-term stays. We discuss whether there's any advantage or disadvantage in buying super cheap properties and renovating or rebuilding them down the track when budget and time allow for it. Should buyers be considering pulling the trigger sooner rather than later to avoid price hikes? A little bit about condo units, who should be buying these as opposed to other property types, and appreciation and depreciation. How do properties retain their value, if at all, in Japan? How are they priced to sell? Are they built to last? And do renovations even affect their resale value at all? We also have a chat about how business management visas, again, work overall, the services that we provide and what they cost. And finally, a bit about tattoos and whether those can be an issue when purchasing or conducting business here in Japan. So all in all, a very nice, deep enough conversation with a very nice guy. Have a listen, and I'll see you again on the other side right before we go on to the second call.
Sorry, yeah, back.
No problem.
No, not back to square one. Yeah, just go ahead from the podcast part.
And so over the course of the few years that I've been listening to the podcast, it just sounds like a lot of people have come to you, hey, I'm going to Japan, so I want to buy this property. And it comes across like, oh, I'm going to do it in 4 years. I'm going to do it next year. But it doesn't usually sound like they have a plan or they have things in place. And when I hear it, I'm like, wow, these people are just going to move to Japan.
Correct. I can tell you from everyone you've heard on the podcast, maybe a handful of them have actually pulled it off. Okay. Or at least that I've been in contact with. Maybe they haven't, they've just never been in touch. But usually they're talking to me about stuff that they want to do business-wise. So I would assume they'd get back in touch at some point.
Right. Okay.
There are definitely some people who have a very concrete business plan in mind, or, after we have a few discussions, then they form a business plan and then they get back to me. They might not be on the podcast at that stage. They get back to me and we hash out, a few more of the details. But generally speaking, most of the people who talk to us about it from a real estate perspective are talking about an Airbnb or hospitality operation, which if it's run very hands-on and it's very profitable and they do a very good job marketing and keeping occupancy levels high, then that is feasible. But that's not like a passive real estate investment at 5%.
Right. And I was more interested in the cheap Akiya for personal use than I was in real estate investment. And I would say most of what I hear is people wanting to do Airbnbs, long-term rentals. And I had a couple questions about comparison between purchasing. So let's say, well, I have about 200,000 USD to work with.
That's that like 30 million yen-ish at the moment. Okay.
That doesn't mean that I want to use all of that on Japan property. It just means that I have that available. I'm looking at two extremes of it, to where one option, a $5,000 complete beater home, where you always talk about structural damage, it's falling apart.
Let's call it a piece of land. Let's not consider the home anything.
Okay.
At that price level, I wouldn't consider it a home. Like a few blocks of wood on a piece of land. Yeah.
Sure. Because at that price, I wouldn't feel like I was necessarily losing something if I came to Japan and I was there for a year and the visa didn't work out and I had to come
live in it. If you can live in it, if it's not livable, then you would be losing the money that you need to spend to renovate it, right? Or rebuild it, as the case may be. I'm probably leaning more towards a rebuild if that's the budget you're buying in.
Okay. So in that scenario, are there laws as to what's considered livable? Or is it just
No,
if
no, no,
you
no,
can deal
no,
with it or not?
no. Just a matter of whether you can
Okay.
deal with it.
So when you say that you'll send people out, they inspect for structural damage, they get an idea. You often say, a couple $1,000 USD a year for maintenance and stuff like that. You could just choose to live in it until it fell apart. Your quality of
Yes.
life may not be high, but the
Yes.
government would not say, this is a dangerous home. You can't live here.
No, that's not the.
Okay.
I mean, it's never been the case that I've heard of. In any case, I'm not a legal expert, but that's never been the case that what I've heard.
Okay. And then on the other side of it, say that I just knew that I would have a visa that would allow me to live there indefinitely, then I could be interested in, like, let's just spend $150,000 and buy a nicer place.
To
So
live in, you mean? Not
correct,
as an
to live in,
investment.
to live
So
in.
then how,
Correct.
then what, where would the visa come from in that case?
I run a cleaning business here in the States.
Okay.
So maybe just something along those lines. I guess the visa thing is my concern, but as I'm sitting here thinking about where could this go in a few years, I'm looking at the properties that pop up on Akia Mart or the Cheap Houses Japan Instagram.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing stuff that pops up for 20, 30 grand. And it does cross my mind, maybe I should just jump on something like that now. But then I'm very risk averse. So I had a couple questions for you about monetary value. So could I give you like two very general examples?
Yeah, but can I just
Yeah,
backtrack 1 second just to two of the things you
sure.
mentioned there? So
Yeah,
first
sure,
of
sure.
all, I wouldn't rush with the purchase for 20, 30,000 bucks because there's always going to be dilapidated properties in the Japanese countryside or semi-dilapidated. I mean, that's not 5,000, it's 20, 30,000, but there's always going to be something to buy in the Japanese countryside at that price. I don't see anywhere that's
Okay.
emptying of population as rapidly as the countryside in Japan is. I don't see prices going up there significantly. I mean, there are
Okay.
occasional hot spots that somebody, hey, there's a really nice onsen here, and then a bunch of Australians come over, and then it turns into the next Niseko, but that's very rare. So most of these
Okay.
places are not going to be rising in. No one's got a crystal ball, but I very, very much doubt that they would be rising in value significantly. We've only seen rural property prices slightly crawl upwards by a smidgen in the last couple of years, and that's after 25 years of deflation. And those areas are still emptying of population rapidly. So I wouldn't
Okay.
rush because you think you might miss out on a deal. The deals will be there if that's the budget you're looking at.
Okay. So that was one of the questions specifically was you always talk about how it's a very active market. So I was thinking 4 to 5 years from now.
I'm not referring to those
Okay.
properties when I say that.
Okay. Okay.
I'm referring to
Understand.
good
Understand.
profile, relatively high yield, young or not too mature properties within metropolitan centers that are at least stable or gaining in population. We're not talking about the Akia market. Akias can
Okay.
sit on the market for ages. Occasionally, if it's a really
Okay.
good deal, then yes, they will get snatched quickly. If we happen to land on the diamond in the rough that's wow, it's in really good condition and the owner just really wants to get rid of it, then yes, those can disappear within a matter of days. But that would have to be a really good profile property and or in a really attractive location for one reason or another. Not the
Okay.
shacks in the woods that we talk about normally. No,
Okay. Okay.
those can stay on the market for ages. The other thing I wanted to mention just before we jump onto your questions is that if you're risk averse, then why not look for employment instead of setting up a business?
So both of the kids are in high school.
Yeah.
So we're not even attempting to move until 4 years at the soonest.
Okay.
So this is just me looking ahead and what do I need to get started? What do I need to look into? I don't want to just jump into it 6 months before we're thinking about making the move.
No, that's a good
So
strategy.
it's
Yeah.
just like research.
Okay,
But
so first
the
of all,
more
sorry, go ahead.
so the more I listen to your podcast, and I do hear people talk about, I want to buy this vacation home.
Yeah.
It does kind of come to me that I could buy something now and leave it in your hands and have you hire the property management, and maybe I do make 4% on it while
If
I'm
that's the
not
case, I'd
there.
go for a condo though. I wouldn't go for a house.
Okay, yeah, okay. So you seem to push people to the condos for the renting
The
market,
people who want a
correct?
stable, the people who want a stable, semi-passive income that they don't need to worry about on a regular basis. That's a volume. Sorry. The people who want a stable, semi-passive income that they don't need to worry about on a regular basis and are not going to be badgered by constant maintenance and renovation issues, I direct towards a condo. For two reasons. One is because you're paying your monthly fees and you know that that covers everything related to the structure. So you just need to worry about the interior. You don't need to worry about the roof suddenly going, renewing termite protection, the retaining wall around the property crumbling. That kind of thing is not a concern. Building fees, go slightly or more sharply up over time, but it is what it is, and that's what you're paying every month. So the only time you need to think about maintenance is when a tenant moves out, which is every few years, or when something breaks and they let you know that you need to replace it, right?
Right.
So for people who want to be as passive as possible, I recommend that route.
Okay.
Japan is
Is
basically a cash flow environment. If you have a larger land parcel, you could stand to gain potentially in value more than you would with a condo. But then if you want to buy a larger land parcel with a house on it in a location that would potentially gain in value, that's going to be a lot more expensive. So the condos are also an affordable way to get into the market without having to worry about maintenance expenses, et cetera, down the track. It's safe and stable, and tenants tend to stay a long time. And also, in most cases, they're going to be, just because condos are usually not that big, they're going to be singles or couples, or maybe a couple with a very young child, which is a lot easier to find tenant-wise in Japan because the population is in decline. So when you've got a family-sized property and you need to look for a family, they can take longer to find.
okay. And I'm
That's the reason I'm aiming for that. But people who are interested in being more creative and renovation projects and potentially short-term stay or monthly stays, and who do want to use the property themselves when they occasionally come to Japan, they're not looking at a long-term lease, and then houses, and obviously people who want a bigger land plot or a garden or a backyard, and those are obviously people who are going to be buying houses.
okay. And there's almost, maybe I just want to hear you say it. There's almost
Well,
no market for buying a 5 million yen Akiya and renting it out.
there definitely is if you want to be hands-on.
Oh, there's hands. Okay. If I'm there to do it.
No, I mean,
myself.
hands-on, you don't have to be there to do it. You can hire people. Shumatsuo was also going to be speaking at our summit this weekend. That's exactly what he does. People come to him because they say, hey, I see the potential here. I want to turn this house into something nice that will gain income. He commissions a renovation company, or maybe these days he's already hiring people directly. I'm not sure. And then they make a project of it. But it is a project.
Gotcha. Okay.
People who want a
Understood.
turnkey investment with a tenant in place, hopefully already a tenant in the property when you purchase it from day one, straight into income without having to think about it too much, go condos. People who want to potentially increase the yield that they could get by buying something cheaper, renovating it, renting it out for a decent price, and are not too concerned about maintenance and renovation issues, go the houses way.
Okay. And if something were to pop up in the next 6 months that was a very cheap home, would you recommend against purchasing it now to sit on it for 4 years if I
If you're
wasn't putting a
saying
tenant,
very
like it just sat there?
if you're saying
Right.
very cheap home, I'm assuming not in a central-ish location. It's going to be out in the sticks, right?
Yes.
I'll sit on it for what then? For potentially gaining in value or avoiding to have to pay more in 5 years' time?
Yeah. Or just this place great to me specifically. I'd like to own this, but I won't be able to live in it for 4 years. You seem to think there's plenty available.
Yeah, but I mean,
That
if you
just
found
great.
if you found the house that you're in love in, by all means, go for it. I mean,
Okay. You
sometimes
would
we do have customers who have landed on a particular property that, wow, this is the one, and then they took a bit of time shuffling their feet and they lost it, and they're very depressed because it took them another year or 2 or 3 to find something as good as nice. I shouldn't say as good, but as appealing to them as that, right?
Okay.
So if you happen to find the one and it's oh my god, and we must have this, then by all means. But otherwise, I don't think there'll be a lack of them.
Okay. You would still hire people to manage the property while vacant to keep an eye on it. You wouldn't
If
just
there's
let it
anything to
sit,
manage,
would
you're
you?
talking about a 5,000
Okay.
bucks property. I'm
Right.
not sure
Okay.
what there is. I don't know.
Okay. Okay. So on the other end of the spectrum,
Yeah.
a nice modern home, say a home that was built in the 2000s or newer.
Yeah.
Are those homes also still purchased knowing that the value will depreciate?
The value of the structure will depreciate, but if they're in a good
Okay.
location, the value of the property in its entirety, meaning basically the value of the
Okay.
land, would potentially gain. I mean, Tokyo, Osaka,
Okay.
Fukuoka, Kyoto have definitely been constantly increasing in price in the last 15 years. And that's a house is completely depreciated from a tax perspective after 23 years. So regardless of the structure,
Okay.
those locations, if they're not super suburban, have gained in value and will probably continue to do so. I don't know; it's anyone's guess, but
Okay.
looks
So
like
even
those areas will. But if you're buying something that is a bit more suburban, or let's say in the next city to Tokyo, some will gain in value, some will not, some will lose value. It's very much. We haven't seen 2025 population census numbers. Those come out in October. It's very possible that COVID has created some kind of trend of people moving out of the bigger city. I doubt that it'll be anything substantial because Japan has gone back to normal, and also here it's far less acceptable than in the West to work remotely. It's a thing, but not as much as a thing as in other countries. But there could be some trends. Like every time I look at the census, which comes out every 5 years, I see oh wow, Kobe, which I thought was an amazing destination, is actually losing a bit of population, and Sapporo, has been gone down for a few years, and now it's gaining in population again. So there are things that happen that can change the value of a particular location every few years. But if we look at central Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, Fukuoka, I think it's a fair enough, I hesitate to say it's guaranteed, but fair enough bet that those locations will continue to gain in value, barring another pandemic. But even during the pandemic, I mean, they held their value. Fukuoka was even creeping upwards a little bit, but they didn't lose value even as a result of that. They're still the main locations in the country.
Okay. But the structural integrity of the house is just always expected to degrade.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So
unless it's got architectural value, like if it's a really well-built, traditional, 200 years old castle, then those definitely do have value. But if you're talking about anything that's a modern build, say post-World War II, once it's older than 20, 30 years, you're really just looking at the value of the land.
okay.
Now, if you've attended any of our recent JREP Summit events in Tokyo or online, you've probably heard our sponsor, Robert Miller from Innovatious.com. He's been in web solutions here in Japan for the past 25 years, and he's also an active investor in Japanese real estate property, as well as global online property, which is his specialty and what his company Innovatious is all about. They offer a full suite of website services for entrepreneurs and small business owners, including all aspects of web design and management, backup and updates, content formatting and editing, proactive maintenance and error fixing, you name it, with a strong focus on SEO excellence, which is what gets you those hardcore top-of-the-list search engine rankings. But there is a difference. Innovatious works off a simple, all-inclusive monthly subscription model, as opposed to the typical outdated and confusing project model. So you never have to wonder how much any request for any work to be done on your website might cost. It's always $497 per month. And if that's not enough, if you've mentioned you've heard of their services on the Japan Real Estate Podcast, you'll also get 10% off this monthly price for life. Also, and equally important, if not more, you can try out Innovatious for just 1 month, then switch them off, on again later if you want, and so forth. There are no minimum subscription terms. Now, if you're a small business owner, managing and growing a website is super distracting and time consuming, right? That's exactly where Innovations comes in. Robert's team takes care of all of that for you so that you can focus on what you do best. So feel free to email Rob on robert@innovatious.com, and his team will conduct a full SEO and website audit on your site, reveal anything that you should address to increase your website's appeal, and provide you with an easy-to-read detailed report with your own branding so that you can make some informed decisions on your online strategy and watch your business grow as you implement it. So once more, robert@innovatious.com. Drop him a line and get your website reviewed today.
Okay. So, and I'm probably repeating myself, even a house that is built today in 30 years is expected to completely devalue in terms of the build itself.
The last 10 years, builders have been improving things a little bit. Quality is a little bit higher than it was in previous years. But from a tax depreciation perspective, they haven't changed legislation yet. It's still 23 years for the complete depreciation of a wooden structures. I think they will hold their value a little bit better if they were built, let's say, post 2010-15. But I'm just guessing because we haven't reached that point yet.
Okay. So let's say I recently went to Kumamoto and I loved it there. Thought it was a nice mixture of all the different things you can get in Japan without it being a
good place
massive
to hit
city.
for investment, by the way, Kumamoto, with the TSMC mega factory built there. There's a lot of foreigners coming in, a lot of transactions have picked up in speed, and we're seeing slightly crawling upwards prices. It'll probably escalate, I'm assuming.
So if you were to look at like a $100,000 USD home somewhere like Kumamoto, would you expect that at that price? Say that I bought it this year and I lived there for 10 years. I wouldn't expect, like here in the States, where I'll get my money back out of that when I sell it. I would kind of expect it's going to depreciate.
I'd like to say Kumamoto's profile has a good chance of potentially retaining its value, but I don't know.
Okay.
I can't tell you that. It is the prefectural capital, but it's also a rural area. It does have a lot going for it, and it does attract international attention because, again, there was a mega solar farm built there a decade ago or so, and now there's a mega chip factory. It's got good potential to maintain its value, but I definitely wouldn't guarantee it. No.
Okay.
But I mean, if you saved on rent for 10 years, that's already profit there, right?
Right. It's a weird concept here in America where you buy a house for 200 grand and then 5 years later you sell it for 500 grand. You know, it's just so
Jackson,
hard to wrap.
I mean, I know a lot of people who lost their pants.
Yeah, it goes both ways for sure, but I guess
this will be the case if you buy in central Tokyo, Osaka, Fukuoka, Kyoto, but I don't know that. I mean, your budget will buy you something there, but it'll be pretty old.
Okay. Let me see. I had some other in the older homes, say 30 years or older. In American homes, the power and the electrical grid of the house seems to degrade, where you plug a modern appliance into 50-year-old wiring and it just shorts it out or it blows fuses. Is that
or it just leaks?
Something? Yeah. Okay. Same thing.
Same. Yeah. No
Okay.
difference in plumbing, no difference in wiring. It's what you'd expect. I mean, technically there might be different materials and techniques that they use. I'm not an expert, but same. You wouldn't like when you're completely renovating a place, you might strip out the wiring and do some large plumbing, but otherwise you'd replace it section by section as it goes.
Okay. Man, that's with the older homes,
Yeah.
with the cheap 10 to 30,000 USD homes. You said the market on those isn't super active. If I found
Yes.
one that I liked and I sent it to you and you sent somebody to check it out, it's unactive enough that I should have time to book a flight for 3 weeks away and possibly actually be able to come look at it before I
If it's
purchased it.
not in a major city, I would probably
Okay.
say so. But why would you send us to look at it and then you come and look at it? Don't save the money on our trip and just come yourself.
Well, most likely because I have more trust in what you think of something than what I
Then
think.
we'll go with you
Right.
when you come.
Okay. So you would travel hands on with people as well. You just meet
Yeah,
me there
sure.
and we check it out. Okay.
Us or somebody we send, depending on location. But one note on all of that is that if you're planning on starting your own cleaning business, being a foreigner in Japan, you're in competition with very, very well-established industry. You would definitely want to cater to foreigners if you want to have a niche that would actually make it profitable.
And so I don't remember her last name. Tracy?
Yep, Northcott.
Okay, right. She said that on her end with the Airbnb stuff that she does, that she's actually very in need of people to service her properties. That
Yeah, but she
cleaning
hires
crews and stuff like that can be some of
she hires
those.
cleaning crews directly. I don't think she'd be out. People like her wouldn't be outsourcing to a company like yours. They would be hiring people directly. What you would want to do is go directly to the landlords and offer your services, I would say. To the
Okay, she just
owners, to the
facilitates.
landlords, and I would definitely target foreigners because Japanese clients won't speak to you.
Right.
Yeah. Unless you happen to hire unless you happen to partner with a Japanese partner and they're the Japanese face of the company, and then you handle other stuff. But if you're a foreigner in Japan operating in a well-established industry like the cleaning industry, I would own my niche. I would go to somebody that's not being served by Japanese companies, which in
Okay.
your case would be foreigners.
Correct. Which I guess with the activity that you have, with the amount of people that reach out to you, it does seem like there is a market for that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a market for everything. I'm a huge believer in business, but it takes a lot of pivoting and fine tuning. And the first few years, you need to give yourself enough of a budget runway for until the business becomes profitable. And maybe it's not profitable at all, and you have to go back to the drawing board and see what you've missed and how you adjust. You mentioned that you're risk averse. That's why I'm wondering if that's really the way you want to go. And also,
It's
you'd want to save that 100,000 for setting up the business and giving it that runway. I wouldn't go and invest it in the property if that's all you're going to have after 4 years. Are you planning to increase your savings, or what do you think will happen in 4 years' time, practically budget wise?
4 years from now, it would be whatever the investment market does, which right now is doing absolutely terrible.
Time to buy, man. I've been buying stocks left, right, and center in the last couple of weeks.
So, like that money is just sitting in an investment account. So it is hard to say maybe it would double, right? Maybe I'd end up with half of it, so it's hard to say with that.
Well, assuming it stays 100,000 US, That's a pretty low budget to start a business with. So I wouldn't go and spend any of it unless it's really a $5,000 shack. I wouldn't go spend much of it on a property in the interim.
Okay. Is there, when you talk about the 3.5 million yen per person per year as income,
Yeah.
it's
taxable income.
strictly
Taxable
it's
income.
strictly income.
After all,
They don't care.
taxable income after all deductions and claims. Yeah.
Okay. They don't care how much money I could show that I have in a bank account. It's only what I'm bringing in.
No, they need to show that you have money. You need to show that you have money when the visa is first granted, to show that you have money to invest in your business. But to renew it, no, they want to see that the business is operating, growing, provided a needed service to the local community, and making enough money.
Okay. I know that
and collateral as well is not any. They don't care about that.
Okay. That is the visa that Nick had talked to me about when I was there at the summit. And he said that it's generally pretty easy to get like the year or the 2 year. And so that's why I was leaning towards, say that I bought a $10,000 shack. It's not going to crush me if it doesn't work out. And 2 years later, I come back to the States. Like,
yeah, the visa is, I don't know if easy is the word I'd use. It's a procedural thing that a lot of people have been going through and have been granted the visa. Once you check all the boxes and provide the nice business plan and looks attractive to the immigration department. I would assume he also told you that renewing it, though, is when things become a bit trickier because they want to see that you're actually running a business that's making money.
Yes.
And I was shocked, but I don't know if that's a full story, but I recently read someone's post on LinkedIn that said his business was profitable and the visa has been renewed 4 or 5 years in a row. And then they suddenly told him that it's not renewed because of lack of interest or lack of added value to the local community or something like that. I'm not sure if that's the entire story, but there's always the option that some immigration officer is not going to like you because you have tattoos or whatever the case may be.
And that's been the issue with the standard, like, what's the like the JET program? Like, I know that's out. I'm not going to get hired to teach children. Like, no. I'm aware of that. Even finding a job at a Family Mart, like I get it.
No,
like, it's going to be difficult.
Employment is not going to be a thing unless you're working for a strictly foreign-owned company that's servicing strictly foreigner clients.
Right. So that's why we went with the business owner visa, and that's kind of what we talked about there. And it did sound from our conversation that, like, we can figure out a way to get me there. So then if I look at it as, well, let's say that I come and I hang out and I enjoy Japan for 2 years and then I come home, like, I think I'm okay with that. Instead of looking at it as like, I need to be there for the next 20 years. So
yeah, the only thing is you'll be investing money in setting up and running a business, right?
Right. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. So
essentially, if we take a worst case scenario and the minimum amount required to invest in a business of, let's say, 5 million yen, that's the immigration department requirement, they would not renew it for even the 1 year if they're not seeing you're investing at least, some portion of that. So you could potentially be paying 5 million yen for a holiday visa for 2 years, right?
Right, because they require that initial startup investment.
Well, you don't need to give it to them, but you need to show that you have it to get the visa, and then to renew it even once, they will want to see what you've done with it. So you would hopefully be investing in some kind of business setup. So let's assume that at least, I don't know, half of that or a bit more would be gone towards satisfying at least the first renewal.
Right. Yeah, I can see it adds up. It adds up.
Yeah. I don't know of anyone, to be honest, that's went for a business manager visa assuming that I might just be gone in a couple of years and it was a nice holiday. That's a lot. I mean, why not come here for 6 months a year and take a break and come back for another 6 months? You can do that on a tourist visa or a digital nomad visa if you're working remotely.
Right. I think the 6 month thing feels like you're splitting your life, right? Like I have what means would I work two separate complete jobs? Because I'm not allowed to work on the tourist visa in Japan, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So I would have to be supporting the 6 months that I'm away, and that's like splitting like two lives a year. Going back.
If your business
I was 60 years old.
If your business in the States is fairly hands off, then conceivably it could run without you and generate income while you're gone. So you will really be on holiday and maybe checking in on things and stuff. But otherwise, it is splitting your life. Yeah. But I mean, moving away from the kids for 2 years is not.
Well, once they're out of high school, like that's they can have their own fun for a little while.
Well, I mean, that's when you can kind of have fun too. And why not go 6 months here and 6 months other places, 6 months back in the States to see how the business is? I don't know. I have no idea about your personal circumstances and how your business is run, but it's feasible at any age.
It's what I do currently is very hands-on. But that could change in the next 5 years. So okay.
I'm very much looking forward to my son getting the hell out of the house so I can do exactly that.
Right, which is why it's not a rush. Like we are here for 4 years, no matter what. So I just wanted to dig a little deeper into what it could look like and what the options were. And I was getting really stuck on the stories of, we're going to move to Japan. And they would talk to you, and sometimes it would sound like they hadn't even like dug into it very much. And it was like, man, it's not, I don't, but maybe it's
a lot of the conversations I have with them amount to the same type of conversations that I had with you. Not all of them are recorded, but there is a lot of bubble bursting and dream crushing involved. Yeah.
Right. That I guess the main hurdle to me, knowing that I had some money to work with, whether it was buying the shack or buying an investment property, I knew that either one of those was doable. It was more of how do I get there and how do I stay there for as long as possible, knowing that standard Japanese company employment was kind of out of the question. So,
if you want to go beyond the 6 months a year thing, then yes. Although some people told me that you don't actually have to wait the 6 years to get the 6 months to get the extra 6 months, but I haven't dug into that actually.
Okay. Cool. Let me look real quick since I got you. Okay. Now, as far as the questions that I had coming in before I started talking to you, we covered those specific ones. What percentage of the customers that you work with are looking at these $5,000 to $30,000 Akiyas?
A lot of them look at it when we start talking. A lot of them, I tell honestly that if they're going for a $5,000 to $10,000 home, I don't think there's much use in them hiring us for consulting because all we're going to say is no, don't buy, don't buy, don't buy. Yeah. When we start talking about 30,000, which is like 5 million yen now, my reply is usually, you're the boss, we'll help you buy whatever you want, but I would advise to raise your budget. Half of them listen to me, half of them don't, and we end up buying whatever they want.
Okay. Do you get a lot of feedback from people 6 months down the road, a year down the road that you have helped, that check in with you and say, hey, this this dump we bought is working out, or do you generally not really hear from people again afterwards?
It's not a matter of not hearing from them. We're the ones managing the properties for them after they buy it, usually. So we're involved in the renovations, the maintenance, the repairs, the structural inspection before they greenlight the deal to completely go ahead or not. So we're there with them hands on. The ones, I mean, what we try to do is just make sure that they're aware what they're getting into. So when they buy something in bad condition, then they know it's going to be in bad condition, and they're factoring in the cost of renovations or the extent of time that it'll take them to DIY it if they're that kind of person.
If we were to buy a $30,000 house and I were to put $30,000 of renovations into it, now I'm in 60 grand. Is that typically a $60,000 home, or is it still kind of a $30,000 home with some renovations?
My answer to that is that if you really want this particular home because of its amazing location or some feature of the land or some feature of the property itself, some people buy these older houses because they're in love with some traditional feature that they saw on it, then it's worth it. But otherwise, why not buy something that doesn't need any renovation and has no question marks attached to it, and you can just assume that it's going to be livable, right?
Okay. Would you expect to see a turnaround if you were to buy that home for 30, spend 30 on it, to you it's worth 60? If you were to put that on the market, would it fly for 60 at all, or should you expect it? No, it's probably going to be like 40.
Somewhere in between, I'd say. The renovations are never going to increase the price by the price of the renovation. They're hopefully going to improve market price a little bit, but never to that extent. Because whenever you do a renovation, if it's a structural repair, that's one thing. But cosmetically, externally, if you're doing the renovation, it's going to be to your taste. You're not necessarily going to appeal to the taste of anyone who's buying it next. And some people are looking for the dilapidated thing that they can DIY the way they like it. So it would help maintain its value, potentially slightly increase it, but I wouldn't go all the way as the cost of the renovation.
Gotcha. Okay. That's helpful. Okay.
What we're here for.
Cool. Hey, I appreciate your time.
Big pleasure, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what you decide to do.
You had mentioned when people get to the point that they are looking to pull the trigger, that there's a retainer fee that you charge. Does what's the extent of that? Like, how far does that go for me with you?
Well, first off, you don't have to pay us. I'm happy to just introduce you to a foreigner-friendly agent who'll be very happy to help you with the purchases.
Okay.
Just as a side note, when you're doing viewings in person with the listing agent, you're going to be freaking them out a little bit on a personal level, right? Might be a good idea to do that after the contract is signed and nobody can back out of the deal.
Really? Like,
you will run across some cases, no, definitely not all of them, but you will run across some cases where the agents will, once they meet you face to face at a viewing, will then find some excuse as to why the house is actually not for sale anymore.
I understand the cultural differences.
Yeah.
Like, especially with the tattoos, but they still wouldn't want my money because they're not in. How would it reflect on them in some way?
Because number one, they're local and you're moving into the community.
Okay. It goes deeper.
And number two, half of my body is tattooed as well, but it's all concealed. Once it looks like it's going all the way down your sleeves, their immediate psychological, visceral reaction is Yakuza. Right? Even though you're a foreigner, you've got the type of tattoos that would scream Yakuza to them, right? It's not like a little cute dolphin on your shoulder. So
right.
In those kind of situations, I think the initial psychological reaction would be tougher than it would be if somebody has, a couple of tattoos that are visible or not so. So
okay.
Again, we can definitely try, but you might, if you're really in love with the property, maybe remote viewing would work better.
Okay. Yeah, I ran into problems with that at gyms and everything. So, but I hadn't thought about like the professional business market. Okay.
If it's a huge company based in Tokyo, Osaka, offices all around the country, and they just send somebody to deal with a property in this or that location, it wouldn't be a deal. But if it's a local realtor who's very well ingrained in the community, it might be.
Okay. Something to think about.
Yeah.
Would you say that there's some concern or second thought that I should give to like the neighboring few streets in terms of like who's this guy that moved in, or don't even worry about it?
I don't think you'll be able to avoid the issues that they're going to have, and that's their problem, not
Okay.
yours. I mean, I would try to be nice to them as much as I can, and I would still knock on the door and do the traditional, here's a cake, we moved in next door kind of thing. And then if they freak out, they freak out. That's their problem. There's only so much that you can do, right? Unless you want to be a hermit out in the woods.
I mean, it doesn't sound too bad. So
yeah, I know a lot of people that do that.
Most of the experiences that I really have had very few negative experiences when I've been there. It's been generally positive, even with all the warnings and everything. But
yeah, but you're talking about cheaper properties. You're talking about cheap properties in very rural areas. That's as traditional as they get, right?
True. Yeah. Gotcha. Cool.
Giving you a lot to think about, I think.
With these cheaper properties, you wouldn't even suggest, it doesn't sound like, that I send you like, hey, what do you think about this one? Hey, what do you think about this one? If it's under a certain price, you would kind of just say it's luck of the draw. Like you're going to get a $10,000 house.
If it's under 20,000 US, you're most likely going to hear, don't touch it from me. But beyond that, we can always have a look. And again, definitely for the first few, we can review them together. We're not going to charge for that.
Okay. And you still would
you were asking about the retainer. So I can introduce you to a foreigner-friendly agent who will be helping you with everything that you need directly. You don't need to involve us. We don't charge for that. If you do want us holding your hand, then that's a 10-hour retainer, 66,000 yen. And then we will be accompanying you all the way throughout the purchase, including due diligence, structural inspection, helping you prioritize one listing over another, raising red flags, reviewing documents before you sign them, just making sure you're not making any costly mistakes aside from the fact that you're buying a shack.
Okay. In the woods.
In the woods, most likely. Let's see how we go.
Okay. Is that something where I should do the paperwork and
at the moment we're only
before I send you some ideas?
At the moment we're only doing the consulting, the retainer thing, which is us holding your hand as you work with an agent. So that doesn't require paperwork. Just an invoice that needs to be paid. The paperwork will be provided as you get closer to submitting offers, signing a contract. That'll be directly in front of the agent. I'll still be there. We'll be in a chat group together, and we'll they and us will guide each other on what we want done. But the documentation will be going directly to them. If you want us to do everything on your behalf, which is probably something we'll be able to do towards the end of the year, then that requires paperwork because we're representing you here. We're signing documents on your behalf, etc.
Okay.
But that's pricier too. Our minimum for houses is 550,000 yen for that service.
Okay. Yeah, significant.
Yeah.
The idea of coming on a long holiday and going and seeing places in person sounds like that's not a great idea because the agents are going to be unwilling to deal with me for the most part.
I'd be interested in seeing how that pans out. I'm only saying this. I've never actually tried it. I have had a few people with tattoos who came in and did manage to get a property, but I just don't like your chances with all of them. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. So but just go into it.
We can specifically target agents from bigger companies in bigger cities who might not give, that much of a shit. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, that could be fun.
Yeah, if you're planning to come for a trip anyway, why not give it a go?
Yep. Yeah, and we are. So yeah, that sounds cool. That sounds fun.
Awesome. I do have to skip on to the next meeting. Sorry, man.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate the time that you did have.
Great speaking with you. Talk to you soon.
All right, man. You too. Bye.
Bye.
We interrupt this broadcast to tell you about Tokyo Family Stays. They're a short-term rentals company in Tokyo, and they offer a home away from home experience, which is just perfect for remote working, quarantining, if that's still a thing, or if you just need somewhere quiet to get away from the world. They offer a variety of options for families, corporate relocations, or even if you're simply transitioning between homes in Tokyo. The properties are super comfortable, tastefully furnished, fully equipped with all amenities, and they accommodate up to 10 people. So really the only thing you'll need to bring with you is your toothbrush and maybe a change of clothes. They come with fast unlimited wireless internet, dedicated workspaces, and fully equipped kitchens, and they're just a delight to stay in. Fantastic alternative to Japanese business hotels, which if you've ever stayed in one, you probably know they're tiny, they're noisy, fine for a night or two if you're on your own, but longer term or with a family, you'll probably feel you're in a jail cell very quickly in a Japanese business hotel. So if you want to give yourself a sense of space and freedom by renting a real home with comfortable Western beds, including all the necessities like baby bedding, children's toys, high chairs, etc., you definitely want to reach out to Tokyo Family Stays. They've been at it for over a decade. They're a fully licensed minpaku or short-term stay operator. And as a special bonus for our viewers and listeners, they're also throwing in a breakfast basket upon arrival for anyone who books and mentions the Japan Real Estate Podcast or NTI. And not only for guests, if you're a property owner, you've got an investment property that you want to tweak for higher profit, or a holiday home that you want to rent out when you're not using it via short-term stays, drop them a line today, see how they can help you maximize your property's income. And again, as a special bonus to our viewers and listeners, they're also offering a free audit of your existing short-term stay listings without any obligation whatsoever. So feel free to reach out to them at tokyofamilystays.com. Well worth a visit. And again, if you're in the market for a family home in or around the Tokyo metropolitan area, Emil's your man. Don't be shy to reach out to him as well at sales@realestate.jp. And now, back to the podcast. All right, nice little deep dive there. I hope you found some value in it. Now, this next call is with a lady from New Zealand. She's in the market for a similar thing. She's looking for a property in Hokkaido, which is also planning to leverage for a business manager visa, hopefully. And we compare houses to condos, to small buildings, and even to simply buying a land parcel for construction at a later date. We talk about how we investigate short-term stay licensing feasibility, what is a good structure age to be purchasing, and what does due diligence look like for a condo unit as opposed to a house or other types of properties. We explain the research and purchase processes in detail, discuss where to find those listings, how management works, what it costs, and how people can potentially, again, leverage that dream hospitality property for the purpose of residency. So again, nice conversation, although a bit shorter on the same range of topics. Lean back, enjoy the chat, and I'll see you again one last time on the other side. Yep. Go for it. I've reviewed your email, but I got a couple of things to say there just before we get into it. The first is that sending me a screenshot doesn't help me much. I need the actual links.
Okay. Yes.
That's one. And the other one is that in condo units, you can't do Airbnb. You can't rent condo units out on a short-term stay basis. You can only rent them out on a long-term basis. Or if the owner union is open to it, which is rare, maybe on a monthly basis, but definitely not short-term Airbnb.
Okay, that's perfect. That's fine, because what we're most probably looking at is rather than just potentially purchasing it for ourselves for now, purchasing one for ourselves and using that as holiday accommodation as we go over annually. And then with a long-term view of, I guess, figuring out whether our portfolio, business-wise, if we're going to look at trying to acquire more in the market or look at other business aspects for a long-term visa, what our best option will be.
Well, a single property with a couple of rooms is not going to generate enough money for them to approve, and definitely not to renew your business manager visa. So nothing that you're looking at the budget that you've been sending in via emails will do that. It'll have to be, if it's going to be a hospitality property, it'll have to be something with multiple rooms or a very fancy one that you can rent out for a lot of, for a much higher nightly rate.
So we've been staying for the last couple of years in in a condo block that has, it seems like all the rooms, the whole unit's been purchased. So
Yeah, if
even if
there's
it,
one owner who owns the entire building, they can definitely do it. But if it's an owner union strata kind of situation, then the owner
yes,
union is not going to allow it.
okay. Um, Definitely interested in looking at the acquiring a whole apartment, like a whole facility.
Yeah.
Potentially, I'm just unsure. I haven't done full research into, because I wouldn't want it to have like over 20, like in size, like just a smaller number. So it's, I guess for myself, easier to manage.
Over 20,
Um,
you mean 20 square meters?
Sorry, individual condos or apartments within the
So
actual
20
block.
units within a building.
Yeah, so not over that. So in the smaller range, I haven't done research to understand what the
Well,
where the
small buildings like let's call it 2 to 4 floors wood or steel framed wood structures that you see in a lot of streets in Japan, where those would normally have more like 4 to 12 units, maybe 16 if they're kind of small. And the smaller ones start at around, in a good location, I mean, that would be potentially attractive, would start at around 40 million yen. So I'm not sure about New Zealand, but that's about 400,000 Australian at the moment.
Oh yes, yep, okay,
And that'll be probably more like 4 to 8 units. A little bit bigger would cost more. We're aiming to buy them because they're made of wood. And maintenance expenses would start escalating a bit quicker when they hit 30, 40 years of age. So we normally aim for like 20 years and younger on purchase.
okay.
So that would
So
start at around 40 million yen.
and you wouldn't get any reinforced concrete within that size range, like
I would if your budget allows, but they'll be in the millions.
yeah. Okay, yes, within the 20 years and less for
And
the
for concrete, we'd go for 30 years or less because we got a bit more leeway until it starts deteriorating. But still, they're bigger. They're going to be more floors. They're probably going to have an elevator. They probably will have, let's say, at least 20 units, and they would cost. The cheapest one we saw to date was about 1 million or 900,000 Australian, and that was pretty old. I'd go for younger than that. So
okay.
maybe think like 1.5 million, 2 million Australian ish.
Okay. Okay. No, that's definitely outside of what I'm looking at. More, say, if it was, say, NZ or Australian, like a few 100,000, but not like up in the millions.
So that'll be
So
a small wooden structure, but they're very good investments, and they come with a reasonably sized land plot as well, which is the only thing that can potentially, maintain or gain in value in Japan because the structure loses value every year.
appreciates,
Yeah.
yes. So are you getting much, do you know much around the market within Asahikawa?
We've looked at a couple of properties there, but I don't know anyone that's pulled the trigger of our clients. I'm sure people are buying there, but our clients haven't. I don't think. I'll have a quick search while we're talking and let you know if I'm wrong, but I don't think anyone's purchased there from our clients yet.
Okay, because that's definitely we've definitely where we are looking to purchase in Asahikawa after a lot of research.
I've got a client who bought some land there. He's, I think, planning to just sit on it and then either sell it if it gains in value or potentially build maybe like a small log cabin or something, but nobody with an actual structure or active investment property now.
Oh, so you can buy land as well, not just having to worry about like the properties. Like
Yeah, you can buy just land
it's
if you
quite
want and
common.
then build on it whenever your budget or allows it or whenever you have the time for it.
I didn't actually think about land. Okay, that's good to know.
But if the goal is definitely, I mean, you're going to be leveraging it for a business manager visa. So the goal is definitely to run a hospitality property on it, right?
Yeah.
If that's the case, then the first thing we do before we start, pouring money into viewings and inspections or anything of that sort, the first thing would be to float it to a short-term stay property management company, research and management company, and pay them to commission a report to tell us if the property is likely to comply with the license requirements or not. Because otherwise there's no point in you going through the motions and paying money for an inspection and a viewing, and then it turns out that you can't even do it there, right?
yes.
Because each
Okay.
local, Asahikawa is in Hokkaido. So in Hokkaido specifically, we got a guy who'll be able to both facilitate the sale and also research, because they also do short-term stay management. So they'll be able to also research that hopefully without charging.
Okay. I think for now, the primary focus will be on getting something for ourselves just in the interim until we figure out when we're looking to go over and just do a bit more research on how we're going to,
Well, if
because
it's
that's like
for
our 10-year plan.
yourselves and you're not sure when you're going to pull the trigger on the business,
Yeah.
I'd probably go for a condo unit, because with a house, you'll have to constantly think about maintenance, repairs, renovations. With a condo unit, you just pay your monthly fees and that covers everything.
Yes. So the two that I had sent through, which I can I'll go log into the Akia Mart and send you more information. We have looked at quite a few, and I know that it is on the older scale, with regards to, I think it's
The
about
builder,
40,
you mean?
the building itself. But we're not really fussed on, I mean, it's going to offset what we're currently paying when we go over every year for a few weeks. It's just going to,
Well, I
over a
mean, I
couple of
wouldn't get
years.
emotionally attached to any particular listing, because you might, by the time we finish investing in it, it might already be sold, or it might,
Mm.
might run the due diligence on the building and find out that it's not being managed well and it's going to end up costing a lot. But if you've got the actual links, we can definitely dig into them if you want. I'm trying to, sorry, the screenshot you said you sent is kind of tiny. I'm trying to see. No, I can't.
So,
Sorry. It's not getting bigger when I'm zooming in. I'm not sure why. I'll need the actual links. I'm sorry.
no, that's fine. Because so I guess if we were to look at money, we're happy with, is it 1 LDK? Is that how you say it? Like
One
just
LDK
more,
means one bedroom plus living, dining, kitchen.
yeah. So we're quite
And the kitchen
comfortable
will
with,
be tiny, like more like a kitchenette. It's not going to be like anything massive usually.
okay, maybe the two, I think what we've been staying in, because we're pretty simple, it's just a place to sleep usually out all the time. So, I mean, maybe even going up to a two room actually. A 2 LDK, I think, is the size that we've been staying in. Would be sufficient and then with a budget of, say, between 30 to 50 AU, is that something like doable in
Um,
Asahikawa, or would I
I
need to be?
haven't done much in Asahikawa, but from what you've shown me on Akia Mart, it looks doable. Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot that we've seen in there, like single ones that are quite, I mean, like that 5K one in AU, and then somewhere around like the 20, 30K. But I guess what we're
Let's
just,
just try to aim again for a building that's 30 years and younger, because that will probably
okay,
bring the price up a little bit, but hopefully not more than your top end.
yeah,
Just because if the building fees are now, for example, I don't know, 150, $200 a month, if it's over 40, then it's definitely gonna potentially double, let's say, in the next 6, 7 years. So as long as you're comfortable with that, we can look at older, but I would probably try to aim for younger if you could.
if say we went for the over 40, just for argument's sake, obviously would it need to be research based to figure out what your average annual costs would be, like
We
now?
will, we're going to know what the annual costs are on purchase, but the point is, so we'll look at the building's renovation history. We want to see what they've done in the last 10 years. If they've done the big ones like the exterior, the roof, the elevator systems, then we know that it's not going to need any big renovations for the next 10, 15 years. But as they get older, it's going to get shorter. So it's when they're
Yes,
just built, it's like first 25 years renovation free, then every 20 years, every 15 years, every 10 years. So and then we correlate that with how much they've got collected in reserve funds. And we want to
yes,
see that if they haven't done any big renovations in the last 10 years, they've got enough to pay for it. And if they have, then it's okay for the reserve funds to be kind of depleted. But the older they are, the more likely the building fees will go up a lot more rapidly. Now, here's some big news for anyone interested in Akiya, the abandoned vacant homes that are abundant all around Japan for very attractive purchase prices. Akia Mart, our latest sponsor, is a recently founded online search and discovery tool for Japanese real estate. Its user interface will be very familiar to users of Zillow or Redfin. The platform essentially scouts the internet for property listings, translates them into English, and displays prices in US dollars, all in one place and with a dynamic map interface that makes browsing, finding, and shortlisting your favorite properties a piece of cake. Which any of you who have been struggling with the dozens, if not hundreds, of Japanese property websites that are available online and their very clunky interface will probably find a real blessing. They've got already over 500,000 listings on the platform, and the database is expanding daily. Ranging from abandoned rural homes to luxury urban properties, Akia Mart makes it easy to find your dream home in Japan, regardless of your budget. Now, while the platform is essentially free for use, here's an exclusive offer for listeners of the podcast. You can use the promo code NTI to receive $5 off Akia Mart Pro. The subscription will unlock a bunch of very attractive features for you, including unrestricted access to the entire nationwide property database and a whole range of filters, which will help powercharge your search for that elusive perfect home and make it even easier. So hop over to akiya-mart.com. That's AKIYA-MART, akiya-mart.com, and kick off your search today. Rapidly.
Okay, so for your services to do that kind of research, if we give you a value that we're looking at wanting to spend, what do we need to do from here? Because I can paint the picture, that's pretty much what we're wanting
the
to look
listings
at.
the research for the listings itself is probably best if you keep doing on your own. Akia Mart is a great resource for that because you're always going to be the best filter. You can look at a few photos and a layout and a location and see if it ticks your boxes or not.
Yes.
And then what I'll do, normally we would have done everything on your behalf and you would have paid us a percentage of the purchase price, but these days we're a bit too swamped to do that. So until we figure out our hiring and training issues, because we're just growing pains. So until then, I'll put you directly in touch with a foreigner-friendly agent, probably that guy that I've mentioned up in Hokkaido.
Oh, okay, yes.
And they'll do everything remotely in English on your behalf, same as we would have done. Realtors being realtors, they're a bit more transaction-oriented. They're not going to have like the kind of conversation that we just had about what's better to look for and watch out for this and what. They're not going to do that. So
yes,
we can handhold you for a few $100 and tell them what kind of due diligence we want to get done and help you prioritize listing and review documents before you sign them. Just make sure you're not, making any costly mistakes.
Yes. Okay, because I did, and the good thing, like you mentioned on Akia Mart, is I did drill down into the original listing, and then there was a lot more information around renovations and the costings and all that. But it'll be good.
It's probably more for houses. Did you see anything about renovations for condo units? There's not much in there.
Yeah, for those, because it took me to the original realtor. Yep. But then I was using Google Translate to translate the information.
Okay.
And it brought out the history for that particular condo that I was looking at around when the water piping and renovations, etc.
Oh, that's interesting. Usually the condos don't have that information in a listing, so that's promising.
I think it was Tojima. Tojima was the realtor that it took me to. So I guess thank you again. But yeah, that'll be our primary focus, is to see if we can find something, and rather than have our money just sitting in the bank, like look at getting something over there, because it is a long-term goal that we want to get there. So something in the meantime for our annual visits on a condo.
I mean, if you're coming here every year, it beats paying for accommodation every time, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And then when down the track it's time to consider a move in the business and then we can hopefully resell it at around the same price, maybe a little bit lower, a little bit higher, but around the same price usually, unless the building is super old. And then recycle that money into whatever you'll be buying for the business, I guess.
Cool, because we're not like fussed on capital gains or anything like that. It's more like, cool, if we can get there and then use the portfolio to establish us a place there and, just do our whatever we've got offshore and that, then we're happy with that. It's not so much.
What do you mean with the portfolio? Sorry.
Our business if we end up looking at that hospitality offer that you were mentioning, like for the long term, if it stacks up for a business visa to be able to look at operating that
So
and
for a
acquiring.
business visa, what you'll need to basically do is number one, come up with a decent business plan, and the immigration lawyer, I can put you in touch with one. The immigration lawyer will help you make sure that that suits what the immigration department wants to see.
Mhm.
And then and you need to show that you have about 5 million yen to invest, which is about 50,000 Oz, which is not a problem because whatever you buy will cost at least that.
Yeah.
But then the trick is after a year's time, when it comes the time to renew the visa, they want to see that the business is generating enough taxable income to sustain whoever is on the visa. So to be on the safe side, you want the business to be generating something like 35,000 taxable income per person on the visa. So if it's you and a spouse and 2 kids, it's like 4 times that, right?
1,000. Okay, I'm just writing that down.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a case officer discretion thing. There's nothing in concrete, but they will give you some leeway if they see that the business is progressing in continuity and it's definitely rising in income. So even if you're not quite there, they'll give you another year or two. But to be on the safe side, that's how much you want the business to be generating at the end of the first year.
And that
So
is that
to get to that level, you'll need a bunch of rooms or units, not just like a one that you're renting out for, a couple of $100 a month.
definitely, yes. Um, and that's 35K AU. Is that what you're
AU,
so?
yeah. That's a worst case scenario. Like if you're living in the heart of Tokyo where cost of living is super high. I'm sure in Asahikawa it's going to be a lot less than that. And they want more people settling there. So they'll probably be a bit more lenient. But
Yes.
there's no clear legislation or rules that we can go with. It's just based on our immigration lawyers' experience so far. So let's take that as a worst case scenario and try to get as close to that as we can.
Yeah. Awesome. No, I'm happy with that. Okay. Okay. No, I think you've given me a lot of food for thought around what we need to do. And so based off our conversation, so your recommendation would to do some more research, look at the 30 year, did you say, or 20, was it?
If it's a unit in a concrete building,
Condo?
in a concrete building, 30 years and younger, if you can, as close to that as you can get. And send me a bunch of links, not just two, because a lot of them will fall through. So if you can find 5 or 6 of them, that'll be better. And then send me the actual links, either to Akia Mart or even better to the Realtor's website.
Yes.
And then we'll kick off a conversation with the agent and we'll start digging into them.
Awesome. One more question. If we look at say 50K for an apartment, for example, with the additional cost of services, I suppose it'll be just dependent on where they're at.
For maintenance when you're not there, you mean?
Yeah.
I'll share my screen and show you. I'll also send you that file separately, but let me just share my screen for now, so we can go through it quickly. So the guy I'm going to put you in touch with is an agent and does short-term stay management and also does just regular maintenance of properties. So you can definitely start with him. I think, I'm not sure if he's cheaper than us. I think most of the people who do management are about similar, but I'll show you our management plan selections, and then he might be a little bit cheaper, a little bit pricier, but probably similar services.
Yes.
So let me just share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So first thing is just to explain, everything that I'm sharing with you now about financials is just for our fees. Utility companies, cleaners, anybody, any third parties will charge whatever they charge. So the fees I'm explaining now is just for us to manage it.
Yes.
And anything that's not included in there and you want us to do for you, like, I don't know, organize for delivery of furniture, or you want somebody to come there for a technician's visit or whatever the case may be, we just charge by the hour.
Okay.
Okay. And then we got 3 plans. One of them is just for utilities, insurance, just the basics, some extra copies of keys, internet if you need it, and paying your annual taxes. All right, so that costs about 1,000 and a bit Australian to set up, and then about 90 Australian per month.
Mm-hmm.
If you also need, which I would advise if you're not going to be there every couple of months, if you also need somebody to come in once a month to open the doors, the windows, do some light vacuuming, stuff like that, just to avoid the mold buildup.
Yeah.
Then the setup, because we need to contract local cleaners, the setup would be about 1,700 Australian, and monthly would be about 140.
No.
And if it happens to be a house, we're looking at condos, but if it happens to be a house, we also got a plan for garden and backyard maintenance and stuff like that.
Okay.
So you can expect around, let's call it 100 to 140 bucks a month for somebody to maintain the property and be the contact person for all utilities and an insurance company and everything that needs to be done with it.
Cool. Awesome.
All right. So I'll send you back to the drawing board or back to Akia Mart.
Yep.
If you're not finding anything on Akia Mart, let me know, then we'll get the agent to research for us. Because I know Akia Mart are bigger on houses. I'm not sure if they have a lot of condos there. So see what you find. If there's not that much, then we can also ask the agent to search for us.
Okay. Do you have any other recommendations of other websites to use apart from Akia Mart? Like
Japanese ones, yeah. If you want to search Japanese websites.
Oh, yes. And then I'll just need to use Google Translate, do me?
Yeah, pretty much. If you're interested in that, I can send you a bunch.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So I'll send it to you. I'll reply to your last email and send it to you. And when I reply to your emails, like the couple of last emails that I sent to you, you got my mobile number at the bottom there. If you want to add me on WhatsApp, that's where I'm usually most responsive. And that's also where we'll have a chat group with the agent.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much, Ziv.
My pleasure. Talk to you soon. I'll send you those links now.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye for now. So there you have it. Another nice conversation on all things related to hospitality properties and the potential of leveraging those for visa purposes. Again, please bear in mind that the new legislation will increase that minimum capital requirement to 30 million yen instead of the current 5 million. We'll be discussing this change as well as many other topics in our summit coming up again in just over a month and a half as of the recording of this episode, 4th and 5th October, Saturday, Sunday in Tokyo or online. Hop over to our website, nippontradings.com, to pre-register and secure your early bird discounted tickets today. Now, before we go, we're also, as always, going to tell you and also link to our other sponsor's website. That's Hiroshi Shimizu, immigration lawyer and administrative scrivener. If you're thinking about moving here on a more permanent basis, or you're already in Japan on some sort of a temporary visa and you want to switch to a longer term or permanent one, or if you're considering setting up a local company or a branch office of a foreign company and you've got any sort of business or visa related inquiries, or even if you just want to find out what your options are on any of these topics, feel free to contact Hiroshi Shimizu. You can find him at japanimmigrationexperts.com. And he can help you set up a company, apply for any kind of visa, or just provide you with the best advice and extremely affordable consultation related to these topics. And he's already done that for many of our listeners. So feel free to reach out to him. Again, that's japanimmigrationexperts.com, and you'll be well on your way. And that's it from us for today, folks. Hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Japan Real Estate Podcast. Do share it with your networks, and please let us know what you think. So leave us a short rating or review on the iTunes Store, on Spotify, or just drop us a line in the comment section or wherever you might have found this episode. We love hearing from you. Hope to have you with us again next time, and until then, have a great day or night ahead. Yoroshiku.